I don't like that Bill Maher can get on national television and say that Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas. It should be the same for both sides. If they can massively criticize Islam, you should be able to massively criticize Judaism. And I said this on Piers Morgan. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in Jewish supremacy. I can't support genocide no matter what. The average American knows how much money we're actually sending over there. We're not getting nothing. We're getting less than nothing because we're basically pissing off a quarter of the globe, the Muslims.
But you're cool with Jewish people in general.
I think anybody that hates an entire group of people is just stupid. You should judge everybody, on face value. But at the same time, I don't think you should ignore statistics either. I think it's okay to recognize patterns. I don't think there's any group of people that has all bad people. I think just even that idea is nonsense. And that's what I was talking about with dehumanizing populations, which is what we did with Muslims in Iraq. I was in the military. I saw what happens when you dehumanize a population, and you can justify all sorts of super up things. And that's what they're doing in Israel right now.
To be honest, I was just blown away by the talk and the points Dan Bilzerian just put it up on the table. This guy was so controversial that even Dan Bilzerian has his own controversy. He just goes with the girls, and there are many points which I don't agree with Dan Bilzerian, but the way he absolutely destroyed Piers Morgan and Bill Maher on the anti-Muslim Jewish supremacy is totally, it's just on point. Later in the debate, what you're going to see and the point Dan Bilzerian made will going to blow your mind. So let's keep watching the video.
And I don't want to see it done on any side. I don't like that Bill Maher can get on national television and say that Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas. It's just bullshit. And it should be the same for both sides. If they can massively criticize Islam, you should be able to massively criticize Judaism. It should be freedom of speech. I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. There's a big double standard here, and that's what I don't like. When I was in the military, it was, Muslims are sand niggers, they're hajis, they're, whatever. There was words used to talk about Muslims in a way to dehumanize them. And what that allowed the U.S. soldiers to do was kill them and not feel bad about it. There's a million civilians that died in Iraq. People in the military didn't bat an eye. They had words for them. They dehumanized that population. They tried to make them so that you didn't look at them as human. And the problem with doing that is most people are not all good and most people aren't all bad. Most people are gray area.
Everyone's a sinner. Everyone's fallen short of the glory of God. Every single person is flawed and a sinner.
Muhammad were above, but you look, everybody's got their belief system. I think it's important to speak up for these Palestinians that are being killed right now because, they don't really have a voice. And I don't like my tax dollars funding their suffering and their genocide, and Israel cutting off, human aid and food and water to mostly civilians and bombing hospitals and blowing up schools, basically infringing on these people's human rights on a daily basis. They've been doing it for, seriously for a year and a half, but this has been going on for 77 years or whatever it's been since Nakba. Every time they talk about what's going on in Israel today, they talk about October 7th, but they don't talk about all the events that led up to October 7th and the reason that October 7th happened.
How you're not going to like Dan Bilzerian? Did you see that the points Dan Bilzerian just made is just raise the respect boundaries for him in my heart? Because yes, the way US military and every other people who are anti-Muslim, they think that killing Muslims or do things which going to harm Muslims are actually okay, and they don't need to actually feel bad for them. And also he just pointed out how Israel is actually always, when they need to defend themselves, they just say that October 7th. And yes, here Dan Bilzerian just brought up the history, how all the things the Israeli people done with Palestine that actually led to the October 7th. But no one actually talks about that, because if they talked about that, then Israel cannot defend themselves. So yeah, I would really like to say a huge thank you to Dan Bilzerian to point out the truth. And I would really like to know what do you think about it. If you agree with Dan Bilzerian's points, or if you have your own points, please share your opinion in the comments, and let's check the video.
You've faced some pretty intense criticism. Some of the remarks that you made on Piers Morgan's Uncensored. Just to clarify, Dan, what are your beliefs?
Well, I think Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat at the world today. And I said that on national TV. I've said that on my social platforms. I started speaking out against, the Israeli genocide that we're funding with our tax dollars over a year and a half ago. They've since kicked me off the board of my company illegally. I've lost probably a $700-800 million sale, of which I would have gotten 50% of. So it's been pretty costly to me. My Jewish business manager tried to extort me. My Jewish lawyers fucked me over. I've had a lot of my Jewish friends come out and attack me. So, I've gotten a lot of pushback from that community. And this is coming from a guy that probably more than half my friends were Jewish. And once you criticize Israel, now all of a sudden it's this fucking tribal pack mentality. And for some reason, they've got this allegiance to a foreign country more so than their own. And then you start seeing your politicians tweeting in support of Israel. And then you realize how much of your tax dollars are going to fund this fucking terrorist nation. And you start looking at the history of Israel and how it was founded by terrorists that blew up the King David Hotel. And they, persecuted these Palestinians. They stole their land, starting from the Nakba. And it's super fucked up. And they're currently operating in apartheid. They're committing a genocide, and we are funding it. And I'm completely fucking against that. And I'm not going to apologize for that. They've labeled me an anti-Semite, this, that, and the other. I really could give a fuck, honestly. I don't give a shit what people, say about me. I don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. For me, this is not about all Jews are bad. I didn't say that. And I said this on Piers Morgan. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in Jewish supremacy. I don't believe in black supremacy. I don't believe in supremacy, period. And so the problem is when you don't view other people that aren't of your race or religion as being equal to you, then you have exactly what you have in Palestine today, which is a genocide. And, these people aren't apologizing for it. Israel has such a stranglehold on our politicians that you've got our politicians up there clapping like baby seals for a war criminal. And somehow we just continue to give them, trillions of dollars. I mean, our support of Israel, if you total it all up and you add in, the war on terror, which we fought on their behalf because Netanyahu lied in front of Congress about weapons of mass destruction. So that war was fought for them. It's $20 trillion. So when I start looking at that shit as a veteran, I have real problems. And when I look at their history, I mean, they attacked the U.S. warship. We were their ally at the time. I mean, if you start looking at the history of what these assholes have done, it's inexcusable.
I don't know how many of you guys just missed that point. This guy, Dan Bilzerian, just lost $70 to $80 million in sales from his business just because he talked against Jewish people. He talked against Israel. Just can you imagine? I call these types of people the real man who doesn't think about the money, who doesn't think about what will going to happen, but just strongly state with the truth. Like, how can you hate him or criticize him? Yes, all the power are with Jewish people. If you want to do business in Western media, Western community, Western countries, you need to be sided with the Jewish and Israeli people. But here Dan Bilzerian turned against that and criticized and talked about the truth, what Israel has done to the Palestinian people, and he's paying the price up until now. But yes, he also mentioned that he's not against all the Jewish people. Yes, we are also the same path where Dan Bilzerian is actually making his point. See, all the Muslims are also not bad, and at the same time, all the Muslims are also not good. But for some bad people, you cannot just take everyone into accountability and say everyone is the same. There are most of the points which I totally agree with Dan Bilzerian's, and I would really like to say some things to Piers Morgan and Bill Maher. That is, like, if you don't like Muslim or Muslim supremacy, it's okay, but you don't need to criticize that heavily because you are actually disrespecting all the people who are Muslims, and no one actually gave you the rights to do that. If you don't like someone, okay, just don't talk about it. And if you see something bad, just point out that. Don't just take everyone into accountability for just some people, if they are Muslim, Jewish, or any religion. So that's it for today, guys. If you like this video, and also point out which point you like about Dan Bilzerian, and also share if you have anything to say about it. I would really like to know what you think. And please, if possible, like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.